everybody, welcome to part 4 of our gather and stitch needlework tray. And today I'm going to show you how to make this absolutely adorable little 2-tier hexagon pincushion. And this not only shows you how to make a hexagon pincushion, but also how to make a hexagon block. If any of you are interested in learning how to do that, how to hand piece it. So it kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone, as my mom used to say. But it's absolutely adorable, very, very useful, and it all fits on our wonderful gather and stitch tray, which, as I've said over and over again, I use every single day. It's very lightweight. I carry it around the house with me, and it's indispensable. I just love it. So watch and learn how to hand piece hexagons and make this really cute little pin cushion that fits wonderfully on the tray. So to begin our little pin cushion project, you need hexagons, and we need 2 different sizes. And I have a 1 inch, and you measure it from point to point, not across. 1 inch and a 1 3/8 inch hexagon. So for this demo, you're going to repeat the same process and create a small one. Then you're going to repeat the same process with the larger one. So I designed the way I wanted them, by the way. This was the last tutorial for the little design board. If you haven't seen it, go make sure you watch that. So I'm taking my little rotating cutting mat. Who is this by? Riley Blake Designs. I just love this. This was a great tool. So take each one of your hexagons, a little ruler, and we're going to draw on our seam allowance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 more, like that. Then, actually, I have to draw. This is why this little design board is great. I need to do this for all of these. I thought I had the one next to it done, but I don't. So I'm going to go and I'm going to mark the seam allowances on all my hexagons, and I'll meet you back here and we'll hand. So I've arranged my hexagons the way I want them to be for my pincushion. This one is going to be the bottom of the pincushion, so you do have to add an extra one. And now what you have to do is piece these all together. To do that, just take 2 of your hexagons. Let me come in closer. And you're going to line these up, just like we do with other hand piecing patterns I've shown on my channel. So you're going to go through the intersection with a pin, go through the other side, and then we're just going to piece these together. And I'm using a straw needle. It's a long, thin needle. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. Go through one side and then match it to the other side, the other intersection right there. Like that. Do a little lock stitch here, and then just sew across. Turn over to make sure you're hitting that line on the other side. And you might want to do a back stitch every few stitches, because we're going to be filling these We want really strong seams. Take that pin out. And then we're going to take one more little back stitch and knot this off. One and two. And there are our first two hexagons sewn together. Now I want to show you how to sew into into this little intersection here. So, how about trimming that off, Jayne? So first I just start by finger pressing so I can kind of get this to lay flat. And then I take, remember we're following our design, so this needs to be in there. Here, sew down, and then we're going to turn it. And that's what I'm going to show you. So I'm going to go through the intersection there. Then on the back, same thing we just did. Knot my thread. I love when it goes right where I want it to go. Okay, back stitch, and then I'm just going to go across. And the more, I'm going to do another back stitch there, the more you hand piece like this, the faster you'll get. What's so great about hand piecing is you could take this anywhere you'd like. And with this tray, which I honestly do use all the time, I load it up with all my little pieces, and I can bring my project wherever I want. All right, so now I'm going to take this pin out, continue to that little point, and then I'm just going to turn. Like that. And then I'm going to pin at the end. And I moved that hexagon out of the way. I'm going to come down and just begin stitching again. Back stitch like we've been doing. Now when it rises up like that, see how my needle is above my stitching line on the back? All I do, take my needle out, and I kind of push the fabric down a little bit, run my needle down like that. And there it is, right on the money. Take that pin out. Using a really fine 60 weight thread, so I'm doing double knots. Leave a little tail so nothing can unwind, and then you have your perfect intersection there. And if you were making a quilt, and I've done this to make a quilt, you'd want to finger press so that you get that wonderful little windmill spinny fold there for the seam allowances on the back, so everything will lie flat. This is why we don't go through the seam allowances when we're hand piecing. So we have that option, and it really cuts down on bulk. So every time I do this, I'm going to place it down again to make sure I'm following my design. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this one in and go all the way around. And lastly, I'll add this one like this, and then I'll meet you back here and I'll show you how to have it form that pincushion shape. Here I am putting in the last hexagon, actually not the last one, but the last one where we have these intersections or these Y seams. So I sewed from here to here, and then I just turn it like this, and we do the same thing. And I have to tell you, I do love piecing hexagons this way. I love English paper piecing also, but this is really fast. So I'm just going to go in, do my back stitch, and then take that pin out. Back stitch, and then we'll knot this off. And cut. So if anybody wants to just hand piece hexagon blocks and make a quilt, this is a great way to do it. Now on the back, if you're going to use this tutorial just to make blocks, which I have a whole quilt going this way, you do want to finger press or press like I've done here. Wait a minute, down, up, down, up. So you see what happens there. And I would grab my iron, press it, and there you have a block. But for our pincushion, we're going to add this. Don't forget to knot off your thread. I saw a really interesting way to knot your thread by Sue Spargo. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's got a great shop and designs and all kinds of stuff. She's really talented. She has this really interesting way of knotting thread, and I, for the life of me, can't figure it out. It might be I'm a lefty and a lot of stitchers are righty, so I watch them, and if anything gets too complicated, it's just really hard for me to translate to lefty stitching language. All right, so here we are. I'm not even watching it that well. Let's just get this finished. But she does these really cool embroidery wool designs that are just gorgeous. Okay, so now we've got the underside of our pincushion. I'm gonna fix. This is why they call this slow stitching, because when you try to do fast stitching, things go wrong. All right, so now we need to take each one of our hexagons and attach like this, or sew these seams. Right, so then you start to get the shape, right? So you're going to sew this to this, this to this, all the way around. All right, I'll be right back and show you how I. So I'm just going to match these up just like we've been doing. Pin. And I am using my short applique pins because these are small. All right, let me just go in. Back stitch. Now I used, because I know I'm going to be asked this question. Where am I here? There we go. I used the, what is it called? Quilt Go. I bought it years and years ago. And I had the hexagon die. So that's what I used to cut my hexagon shapes. And I love that thing. I have the hexagon shapes and then one or two more. And I just love it. The only thing I don't love is cleaning out the dye, you know, getting the threads out. But other than that, it's just fabulous. All right, so let's see how this looks. So this is how we get our shape. Right, and you see how that's going to happen. So now you're going to go around and do every one of these. And then when you get to our bottom piece, or when I get to the bottom piece here, I'm going to come back and show you how we put this all together. So here's where we are so far. It looks, you know, a little odd, but it's like a little flower with a cap on it. So now what you have to do, right, we went all along those edges. You just need to take the cover, and I'm going to sew from there to there, there to there, there to there, and then we're going to leave the last one open. That's where we're going to fill. So if I spread this out, it's already sewn there. So you're going to sew there, 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 and there, and leave the last one open. Same way we've been sewing. And I'm going to do that, and I'll meet you back here, and we'll fill this up. Actually, we'll turn this inside out, and then we're going to fill it up. One more thing, I do pin at the end of each of these little seams that I have to sew. Because I don't want this to start like getting all wonky and turned. So I pin it, and then I'm going to sew, pin it, and sew. And onward, and make sure you leave one open. All right, that step is all finished. And here's my one area, one side that I left open. Finger press back. Make it easier when you use this slip stitch or ladder stitch, I'm sorry, to close this. And now I'm going to turn this inside out. And I might do this. I have one of my grandson's straws. And I just put a chopstick in. All right. It does work. You just have to be patient. And then I just take the chopstick and just push out all those little corners that form the shape. Just be gentle so you don't go through any stitches. And you see what's happening here. We have that adorable little shape. So take your time with these corners. I do have another tool that I lost briefly, and I was like, I was lost without it. But I just like to push these out well, because they define the shape of the pincushion. So just go around and do that. It's easier to do it now than after it's stuffed. All right, and you see, there's the space that we left open to fill. All right, so that looks good. And then I've got some polyfill, and I'll just begin it. It's really easy. You just take small amounts, and I like this chopstick. It's got like a rectangle at the end, and it just makes it easy to push it in. And yeah, you do need to go into those little corners. So take small amounts. And just go around and go into each one of these corners. All right, and then focus on the middle. So I'm going to go around, go into each one of these corners, fill it up to the middle, and I'll meet you back here. All stuffed. Now I'm going to sew this up. So I just push that out of the way. Bring my needle underneath so I can hide my knot. And then you just do the ladder stitch. And I make it really small so that it's on the stronger side. And you see the little ladder. Then you pull it and it closes up. And yep, it does look like a little ladder. This is a great stitch to learn. I use it for all my dolls that I make. It's a classic hand sewing stitch. Okay, so that's closed. And now let's make one more little stitch down here so that it's locked tight. And I make my quilter's knots. 1, 2, 3. I go in, pop that through, cut, and remember, don't cut so close that you make a hole. You could just go in with your needle and sweep that thread out of the way. All right, so now we have one made. So now you have to go and make another one just like this with, where are my larger hexagons? Okay, so I'm going to do that and then I'll come back and we'll put this together so we have our two-tiered adorable little pincushion. All right, the last step. I have 2 mother of pearl buttons here, and I'm going to put the smaller one on top and then the larger one on the bottom. And I threaded up a doll needle. So this is a really long, thin needle with some pearl cotton. And I'm going to go, of course, eyeballing everything. Place that button right in the middle. Go down. I want to line up so I have the polka dots over the floral. Of course, I usually do this all at once. And then go through the button and through again. And come up. I'm doing this all at once. which makes it so much easier. All right, then we have to go through the other side of this button. It does get a little fiddly, but you get used to it. Okay, pull this through. All right, so you see what we have here. There's the button on the bottom, button on the top. Now my last chance to get this right. So now I'm going to go through one more time. So down through, and then I need to go through, and I give that a good pull, and then up. I've got a massive pile of buttons next to me. You can hear them clicking. Okay, and then we come up like that. And then I'm just going to unthread my needle because, oops, I don't need it anymore. Put that in a pincushion. And then we just tie this. We have to push it down like this. Get it really, really tight. So I kind of push it down as I'm pulling it. You see how I'm squishing that in like that. I like it to have that indent. I just think it looks really cute. But you can adjust how far you want that brought down. And then you just knot it. Trim. There it is. Let me put our design board behind it so you can really see it. But how cute is that? And honestly, it took me about an hour to make. The sewing hexagons this way goes really, really quickly. So there it is. So let's put together our little tray here. We have our design board. Come out a little bit. We've got our thread scrap catcher. We've got the design board and this adorable little pincushion. What else can you want, right? This is like perfect. And I use this, and I've said it a number of times, but I use this all the time. Let me just get my camera. There we go. I don't want my design board to look unsquare because it's totally square. And your camera can distort that. But I carry this with me. Like right now, it's almost 5 o'clock. I'm done with my day. I'll put my stitching that I'm doing, that I'm working on now. I don't have anything near me, but imagine if I have some blocks that I'm working on, and I put my scissors, my thread, everything that I need. And you can make this a notion basket. It doesn't have to just be for scraps. If you prefer to have your notions in there, it's perfect. But it was a blast to make. Please make sure you go over to Ginger Cat Stitcher to see her stitching board. It's wonderful. And she's got a different take on it. And also, I think it's Tomato Candy, who got me started with that basket I made. And this quilting and all of that, which was a blast. And it all works really, really well for this project. So there it is. If you think of anything I can add to this, you know, I thought about a needle book and stuff, and then it's like, all right, that gets crazy. I also thought about putting a needle book on top of this pincushion like I have on this one, but then I could just make one of these, you know. But I just thought this was like cuter for this whole thing. So anyway, thanks so much you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel because I have all kinds of ideas that I'm working on for sure, along with the Dear Jayne quilt blocks that I'm going to be doing 2 a week. So in the group that I'm in, people are wanting to make more than 1 a week, which I agree because there's like 300 blocks. So be sure to check that out also. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you make your own stitching tray. I'd love to see what you do. Happy stitching, everybody.